Welcome to another Project Egg interview, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Today we're talking with Travis Patterson from Wilson, North Carolina. Travis, how you doing today?
Man, I am living the dream. Thank you so much for having me.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for coming on. So let's jump right in. Travis, the first question I have for you today is, what is your story?
Oh gosh. You would think because I've written a few books and I've had to provide bios that I will be able to spill out my story very easily, but um, I guess because my story has always been written, I'm trying to figure out what's still relevant today. But um, I am a young entrepreneur, um, trying to help people. I love to make sure that helping people help themselves is another thing that I love to do. Um, Start out first business, never forget it, selling candy. Fifth grade, just I think sometimes you're born with it, sometimes you can be made with it. Um, and they kind of always just stuck with me, being able to earn my own money and being able to stimulate my own economy. As an adult, I was raised in, Wilson, North Carolina. Went to college, dropped out of college, went to college again, dropped out, dropped out again. Work was always something that took precedence, in my life. I was always working either two part-time jobs or a full-time in a part-time, and work just always took my mind to a point where I realized that traditional education wasn't really the way for me. So I've found mentors, I found conferences, and connected with people who were already doing what I wanted to do, and kind of creating a shortcut to where I am now. So um, if maybe a long story short about who I am is I am an entrepreneur, just like many of the listeners to this particular podcast, and I'm still developing.
And that's a great story, Travis. I really do appreciate your insight into your own life. But I want to jump back and I want to talk about the first business that you ever created. I mean, you said you were in fifth grade selling candy, which is brilliant, by the way. I mean, all fifth graders love candy. But could you maybe go into a little bit of how you got interested into that and how you went about doing that at such a young age?
Absolutely, man. As a kid, you don't really look at it as a business. You don't really even take it seriously. It satisfies whatever your needs are. Then, if you have a particular goal because you want to save up for a bicycle, or you want to get a particular game, or some shoes, some Nikes, some shoes that really stood out to you, those having an end game tends to drive younger people or young adults. And for me, it was going on trips like King's Dominion, and my parents, didn't do a lot of traveling, but whenever we did, we would get a chance to go out to the amusement parks, and that was like my all-time thing. So I just knew I needed to save some money, so I can go, along with other groups. So I thought about it. So I went to school. I never forget it. I went to school and I bought an I bought an entire bag of candy. It were the little pixie sticks
Oh yeah.
that you get, yeah, with the sugar and all the stuff in the straw, and um, I was I was backing them left and right, hand over fist, just eating them, making all the kids jealous. And and my teacher, just, well, if you're gonna be eating them in class, you need to share. I was like, yeah, okay, sure, 10 cents. And immediately, um, more kids started, coming to me, but I was still eating them. I wasn't even sharing them. I want my idea was as I look back on it, as I reflect on it, I believe my idea was to, one, probably be a little selfish, but to also create an actual audience and demand. And I did. Um, I had a half a bag left, came to school the very next day, sold out before lunchtime. I think I made $5 off that $1 bag of candy. Took that $5, went to the store, bought five more bags of candy. Every day, sold out an entire bag at 10 cents a piece. So I was making like $50 a week off, selling, those pixie sticks like that.
That's not bad for a
Then
fifth grader.
right,
Right, $200.
$200 a month. I was like, yeah, I can dig this, but um, we were just around the corner from the Candyman, which was the fundraiser that most schools, elementary schools, do, and it was time for fundraising. So my teacher and my principal caught wind of my little operation that I had in class, in math class. And I was trying to defend myself. A good friend of mine, said that if you argue correctly, you're never wrong. So I said, look, my teacher taught me. My teacher was teaching me math, so I was just trying to multiply my numbers. I'm in fifth grade trying to convince like why I'm in the right for using the knowledge that they gave me to make money. But long story short, I got shut down, and which is fine. They wanted for the kids to purchase their candy and that kind of thing. But I learned a lot from that then, and even in high school, not letting my fiery spirit, die out. I did the same thing with shoes. I would take shoes, Air Force Ones, Nikes, and paint them. And it wasn't something that I dreamed of doing. Just like candy, it wasn't something I dreamed of doing. But it was the market. People in my school. I mean, that's what they love to do. I seen this one kid. He was wearing them, and I heard again the demand was there. I heard other people saying, "Man, where you get those from? I really want that. How can I get that?" And so the very next day, I did mine, and it was like, "Oh man, where you get? He did yours?" Like, no, I did mine. Would you like some? Or all you gotta do is bring a pair of shoes, to school tomorrow, and $30. I'll do it. So the very next day, started doing the exact same thing. I had about five pairs of shoes that I was doing a day. Needless to say, just like my college journey, my school grades started to suffer because making the money was more exciting to me. I was more excited about going to school so I can make more of a reach and make more money. Um, yeah, I mean, it was a season. It worked out. I think I made a little bit under $800 dollars in high school during that football season, and the demand started to decrease. So it was always, something that was going on. I took advantage of it. I saw it. I saw the opportunity, and I executed. And I think that's kind of where I am now as far as owning my current business. Because my very first business as a consultant, I wasn't thinking about writing resumes. It was just people had told me that I was great at that. You ever heard that phrase? We tell people what we're good at, but your clients or customers will tell you what you're great at.
Yep, absolutely.
So
So
that
that
was
was
the kind of thing. I thought I was good. I thought that, my demand was okay. Yeah, I can, help people with resources and find jobs and which I am. But that free information wasn't paying the bills. Um, Come to find out that they were actually very excited about me working with them to do their resume. So because I had been in human resources for several years and being able to help so many people find employment, I mean that's who I was before. I became a full-time entrepreneur. I was human resources consultant and coordinator, and I managed accounts. I did recruitment, which I kind of still use those skills today in building teams for my projects that I have going on. But I grew my business the exact same way. I found people who had a very similar skill set as I did with recruitment and resume writing and career coaching, and that's how I built my firm, being able to help people over the internet through Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Um, my videos, as far as me doing career coaching, are viewed in over 29 countries. So
So
when
when
people
people
would watch those videos, they would in turn click in or want to learn more about, oh, who is this guy? They would find out there is an actual business behind all this free content, and
right.
that
That
would
would
create
create
a
a funnel
funnel for
for
my
my
business.
business.
So
So
that's
that's
kind
kind
of
of
how
how
I
I
got
got
started with my first business.
and that's incredible, and that's a great story. But I want to kind of touch on a few things here. So, you were saying how in the beginning, when you were selling the candy, when you were selling those shoes, it was something that you were just excited to do. I mean, it seems like you weren't really trying to. It wasn't really as much about the money as it was about helping out the people and serving the customer and making sure that you put their needs first. And then when you came and tried to build your first business, um, that you just listened more to the customer. You listened more to
Hmm.
what they wanted, and you just suited their needs. Um,
Absolutely.
so my biggest question is, um, how for entrepreneurs that are kind of just starting up, or they're just starting a business and they're maybe suffering, or not suffering, but they're struggling to get clients, and they're struggling to get high value clients. How would you go about listening to your clients? What's the best way to do that?
Absolutely. First and foremost, I would say don't chase the money, chase the moment. The moment itself will tell you the mindset of your customer. The mindset of your customer will tell you exactly what you're great at. I often ask entrepreneurs, what do people normally ask you about as far as advice? You know, or why did they come to you? Or are you the go-to person about a particular thing that you don't realize that you are? Oftentimes, that thing is something that you probably should be basing your business on as a consultant or a subject authority. Depends on how, what lane you want to build in as an entrepreneur. I mean, you can build courses, write books. I mean, there's so many different things you can do as an entrepreneur with what you already have in your mind. You can generate a business out of thin air. The goal is to take the invisible and make it visible. But you have to build it on the moment itself, not the money, because when you chase money, I mean, unfortunately, you'll be just in the wind. There's always something new, especially today. And you'll be here and you'll be there and you'll never actually get any traction. But when you start having some consistency and learning what your customers or clients are looking from you exactly, not what you want to give to them, that's when you start finding out, okay, this is valuable enough for them to ask me for it. They've come to me for it, not I saw something and I put it in their face and try to sell it to them, but they came to me and asked for it. How valuable would this be to you if I was to create this product for you? How valuable would this be for you if I already had it? They would tell you, surveying, they'll tell you even the value of it. So, I
So I
mean,
mean,
I
I
would
would
definitely start with there is recognizing yourself. I think that's the first step to wisdom is understanding yourself and
definitely.
becoming an entrepreneur.
I really think that's profound. And, being an entrepreneur, at least in my experience, it's been both enlightening and it's been very freeing. I mean, I feel a lot more freedom for my life now that I've embraced kind of an entrepreneurial lifestyle. But
Hmm.
like you were saying earlier, traditional education was not for you. And I think that traditional education is something that a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with. And you said the more that you pursued your businesses, the more your grades suffered. Well, my question to you is, for a lot of people who might be scared to risk their grades, how important have your grades in school been to your success as an entrepreneur? Like, what's the correlation between those two?
Hmm. Very good question. Um, I think I can answer that with this case study. How often do people graduate from college with a degree and actually get a job in the field of the degree that they got? It's almost under 30, sometimes 20%, depends on the market and the area that you're in. So, really, even with me being in school, I think those things made an impact on me as well, as far as, okay, I'm learning this, but what's making money is that. Or I'm learning this, but it's going to be another 3 to 4 years before I can even apply this to a traditional employer. So if you're asking me what's the correlation between what I've learned and what I'm doing, I think I got more experience from doing than sitting down at a traditional school, just making some mistakes, connecting with people who knew what they were doing, and learning exactly how to do that.
Right. And to be sure, I'm not I'm not advocating for everybody to just drop out now and
Oh yeah, of
go
course
on
not.
some wild goose chase. But I think kind of the point that I wanted to hit was, if you're building something real and you're spending your time creating something that has meaning to you, or that makes you happy, or that makes you money, then I would be inclined to say chase it. And I can't speak for anybody else,
Right.
but I would think that formal education is just that. It's very formal. It's traditional. It's kind of a one size fits all model
It's
where,
institutionalized.
right, whereas when you are able to pursue your own journey, and when you recognize where you want that journey to take you, and then you start meeting people along the way, I think that's more meaningful than sitting down in a classroom taking notes. You know,
Absolutely.
so
Uh,
to kind of keep going off of that, um,
well, before you go,
oh yeah, yeah, please,
I'll actually like to ask you a question.
sure.
What do people normally ask you the most for when it comes to advice in business or entrepreneurship?
So people typically ask me about social media.
Okay.
They typically ask questions regarding social media, um, and specifically um, about communities and building communities, and building meaningful communities.
Hmm.
Um, and I mean that kind of segues into what I do. I try to take that feedback and reflect that in my business. Um, but I mean that's typically what people reach out to me for.
I love that. I love asking that question to entrepreneurs because one, yes, it does open up their thought pattern to, well, maybe I should be doing this. But most importantly, I love listening to the story and listening to the details of the origin story, how it began, why I do it, or why you do that, the things you do. Um, because I think oftentimes we want to be we want to be successful so bad to a point where we're willing to do what someone else says that we're good at. But are you happy? Are you happy doing it? And the fact that I mean, you seem like you get a good kick out of it, which is, um, I love that. I mean, if you can help people and you can, teach that or even help them stimulate and grow, their Facebook communities or their Facebook groups or just social media overall. Um, I think you'll be happiest in the long run than anybody will short term that's trying to chase the dollar.
Right. And I've often heard that up to a certain level of income, um, once you reach a certain level of income, I think it's maybe 65,000 a year. Um, that is kind of when your level of income compared to your level of happiness, that's when that correlation stops. Anything over, once you're comfortable, once you're living at around 60,000 a year and up, I mean, the happiness doesn't depend on the money. It depends on you. It depends on
Mm.
internally, on who you are and what you're doing and how meaningful what you're doing is both to you and to others. But um,
So
anyways,
think about.
I kind of wanna segue back to your story because, I am very interested in what you're doing, um, and you said that while traditional education was not for you, you found mentors, and you found mentors that essentially let you find the shortcut to where you are now. So
Absolutely.
could you answer the question of who would you point to as those mentors? And once you've identified them, could you maybe give some insight on what they helped you to learn and accomplish?
Absolutely. I Before I name that, I would say that I've never strived to be a copycat of anyone, because if you are a shadow of someone's existence, you will never be current. You'll always be one step behind. You'll always be second best. Quoting one of my favorite movies, Talladega Nights, if you're not first, you're last.
Right.
Um, and I'm really true to that. A lot of people will try to compare me to other people. I say, well, I'm not like them, to a point where I don't even study their moves. People have to tell me about them versus me having to learn about them. So I have a mentor for every good part of me that I want to become great. So I have close to like 12 mentors, when it comes to those different sectors. I know a lot of people say, "Oh my gosh, how do you keep up with those many relationships?" Or how do you, why would you have that many? The thing is, I don't have a mentor. I don't have more than one mentor for the same thing. I only have one great mentor for one good thing that I want to champion. Uh, Key example, um, Lewis House, phenomenal guy. He is a number one New York Times bestselling author of the School of Greatness. I have recently began working on his behalf on social media because of what I do on social media currently with growing groups, stimulating them, getting them to engage, explode them, and I'm helping him with the same projects. And that's been a dream for me. As far as just being able to help him add value to his life, because that's some things that he teach indirectly. He has taught me these things. I've taken many of his webinars. He teaches you how to do webinars and live your dreams through creating digital content and several other things, including e-commerce and having online businesses. But definitely Lewis House. Um, Shout out to Lewis. I'm pretty sure he's gonna be listening to this. Also, City Councilman Derek Creech. He is City Councilman in my hometown. Um, he has taught me so much when it comes to leadership, along with the president or prior president of the community college who's in my hometown, Wilson Community College, Dr. Rusty Stevens. They both found me to be a instrument of their teaching, an instrument of their growth when it comes to actually growing a community, and not just on a civic level, but a business community, a online community, digital citizens, as I've come to learn that term very well. When it comes to leadership, probably one of the biggest things I've learned from them too or those two, are don't try to lead off your way. don't don't be static on how your leadership style is. Listen to the followers, listen to the people that you're leading, create more leaders, and then they will dictate how you need to lead them because everyone has different character, culture, religion, creed, and more. So many different factors. So you have to do way more listening. Hence the phrase you have two ears and one mouth for a reason.
Right? I
Uh,
think that's profound.
yeah, I mean they those mentors they kind of drop kind of mold me that way. But yeah, I have several mentors. It just depends on different parts of my growth. So business, yes. Leadership, even being a public servant. I have a mentor. Another mentor. I think when it comes to public speaking, I haven't had a chance to work with him just yet, but I had a really great conversation with um, Mark Cuban, and through Mark Cuban, it was with Dante Gibson, business partner, and some of the best information I received from him was based on a phone conversation that I had, while I was with Dante, and he is just so people who don't know who Dante Gibson is, he is the CEO of Dante Gibson Consultants, and he's also um, helping me grow and co-founder and creator with Billion Dollar Business Builders group on Facebook. But Mark Cuban is probably one of the most unlikely people you will love to learn from because he's so normal. I mean, I don't know, I mean that in the best way possible. He's so normal. I mean, you talk to him, he's like, that uncle at a barbecue that you're gonna get advice from that you didn't expect it. And I love that. I love that. I mean, the advice is so down to earth, and he's a shark on Shark Tank. And he owns multiple businesses. And I was in the American Airlines arena, when I was in Dallas. I mean, he has a phenomenal um, operation. And the dude's a legend. But yeah, I have mentors for probably, yeah, definitely, probably I'd say nine more mentors. Depends on what I actually need to champion in my life.
That's great. And it might be the Pareto principle, or something similar to that, where they say that the people who you surround yourself with are responsible for how far you go, and so you know you're supposed to spend 30% of your time or a third of your time teaching others, a third of your time with your peers, those who are about on the same level as you, and then a third of your time with mentors who can help you reach that next level. So
Yes.
I think that's really, really good advice to be finding mentors and finding people who maybe not every part of yourself can they help you with, but the parts, like one part specifically that you are good at, that they can help you be great at. I think that's a really good message that I kind of wanted to highlight. But we talked a little bit about your past. We talked about a little bit about what you're doing now. You said you've written a few books. Can you maybe talk about those books and give us some insight on that?
Absolutely. So again, the customers actually told me what I should do, not I want to give you this because you need it. No, they told me this because they asked for it and they requested this. So based on my skill set in human resources and connecting people with resources, I have a very unique skill set to getting interviews, like job interviews, in less than 24 hours. Um, and my entire system of what I actually coach in my business, that's what I do. Every client I take on, I help them embody this concept of now you have a resume, and this is what you do with it. So Samsung and Apple, I love them for their brands. Now I'm going to ask you the same question I ask my clients. Do you have a Samsung or an iPhone?
I actually have a Samsung myself.
Okay. I only gave you two choices and two options, but there's LGs out there. There's Kurosaki's out there. There's so many other brands of phones, but Samsung has a very unique ability to sell when it comes to neural marketing that you had already made up your mind. They had already sold to you before you walked into the store or went online to purchase your phone. They have washing machines, microwaves, TVs, phones. Um, I think air conditioners. I mean, the list really goes on. I wouldn't be surprised if they started making cars here soon. But I took that concept. Same thing with Apple. I took that concept. How can I make people so marketable, so desirable to a point where instead of them having to go out and find the employer, that the employer comes and find them before they even make up their mind as far as hiring them. So I did a very extensive case study on both, why it works so well, and I perfected it. I perfected it with myself first, and then I started getting other people who had different circumstances than I did, and started testing those theories with them. So every step that I found out that works, no matter who the actual person was, I mean, it's a simple formula, but no matter who the person was, I put those steps in my book. So people wanted to know, how did you do it? How do you make people the newest iPhone that's out for the employers? So I broke down step by step how to get an interview in 24 hours or less. So that's that. That's the first book, playbook to getting an interview in 24 hours or less, and that's on multiple platforms. Um, so yeah, I mean, my second book, it wasn't even really about me or what I knew. I had recently found some of the most incredible entrepreneurs, winners, and champions out there. And it almost happened by accident, but I stumbled into it to a point where, I mean, it was like 8,000 great people. I had never been in better company a day of my life. And I was like, dude, I've got to tell your story. I'm telling all these people, I've got to tell your story. So 35 entrepreneurs told their stories about about what stepping stones they had to conquer in order to find success. And I took their stories, I put it in the manuscript, and I made the book. I mean, it's from start to finish. I took their stories and put it inside the book and published the book. The book went bonkers. It was crazy. People from all over the world was trying to find out. Oh my gosh, I need to know this. And here's the kicker. Oftentimes, and I think you mentioned this in the beginning, when people start businesses, I mean, they struggle, but oftentimes they don't want to admit that they're struggling. A lot of business owners, they want to just come out of the woodwork like they're perfect. Grand opening. I was made perfect and everything in here is right just for you. But there's there's an issue. I mean, that's good for branding, but there's an issue when it comes to the intimacy portion of the business, the actual human part of the business, which is good for, you can use Twitter for that. I mean, I know Elon Musk, he's really big on Twitter and he humanizes himself on Twitter by doing that. But, for those who are not that great on Twitter, for those that are just better at just talking and meeting people and emails or just talking, I took that concept and collected their stories inside the book. The most intimate details about their business that they wouldn't normally tell other people are inside that book. So those problems that but mostly every entrepreneur goes through, and how to find those solutions. That was my second book. So, I mean, those are the the first couple books I've written. I'm almost finished with my next one. Each of those books I wrote in less than, well, my first book I wrote in less than 2 hours. My second book I wrote in 6 hours, and after collecting their stories. But again, case studies. I had to learn exactly how that process works. Um, and of course, my next book, and I would rather people take a true understanding to what the ideas is like to embody it before they try to purchase it, because the ideas themselves are not mine. They are a combination of my insight and other case studies of people that I've met. But it's called Entrepreneurial Leadership. Be rich in social capital and leverage the power of legacy. So social capital is a thing that I've learned from a combination of the experiences and failures that I've had during my entrepreneur journey. I would rather have 10, well, let's say 100, just for the sake of real numbers. I would rather have 100 real, loyal connections and partnerships in my life that respond to me. I can help. I know them on a first name basis. I know their kids, their wives, their husbands, their birthdays, than a million people who I don't know and probably would never meet in person, and that probably do not like or share my content or refer business to me enough to a point where it'll be almost impossible for me to share business to a million people or share referrals to a million people. Social capital is, for me, is the concept of embodying all of the resources of your partners and your connections in your business, and being able to reach more people based on helping them and adding value to their day and to their projects, and leveraging what makes them great, versus, again, having a army full of people that you don't even really know or trust, and they might be good, but they're not great.
And I think that's brilliant. When you first answered the question of what is your story, you said that you're a young entrepreneur trying to help other people, and help themselves. And I think you've really shown that that is what you do, and that is who you are. And I'm glad you said that in the beginning. And this interview has been great. We've really been, and you've been providing a ton of value. So I do want to thank you for that. But
Thank you.
we've talked about your past. We kind of touched on your present, what you're doing now. But I want to talk about the future.
Okay.
So I want to know, what is the one biggest thing that you need to accomplish in your lifetime?
Well, um, I think it's easy, and I've only told a total of 3 people this. Um, so you're going to be the fourth. I want to help, and I feel like I have to give a disclaimer because I know it's almost, some people say, "Oh, that's impossible. You're crazy." But yeah, I am a little crazy, and I love it.
Gotta
I
be a
always
little
surround
bit
myself
crazy,
with the
right?
most craziest people. um, but I want to help a million people. I want to help a million people start businesses, and the only way I feel like I can truly do that is not just necessarily meet a million people, um, but learn the right concepts of what a million people need, and help the leaders of these needs, of these subjects, and help them help their audiences. So that's something that I learned from one of my mentors. Who said if you want to change the world, change its influencers, change its leaders, and then they would change. They would do the rest. So that's my end game. I I literally want to change the world, even if it's not this world. I think Elon Musk, um, creator of Tesla vehicles, electric car, and co-founder of PayPal, he wants to. colonize and go to Mars. I'm not sure if I want to go, but the concept of changing the world all of a sudden seems more obtainable because the world can be wherever you are. So
So
no
no
matter
matter.
if it's the digital world, the digital frontier, um, Mars, like if you're Elon Musk, or our planet, which we've been doing so much great and incredible things here. Um, I just want to be a part of history and make that change.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I do wish you the best of luck on that journey. I think you can definitely do it. And I'm rooting for you, man.
I
I appreciate
appreciate that.
that.
I'm
I'm
gonna
gonna
need
need
it.
it. But but moving forward, you're talking about taking your place in history, and I kind of want to talk about legacy. So
Yeah.
if you could leave behind one piece of advice that would serve as your legacy, what would it be?
Hmm. Man, you have some really good questions, man. Let's see. If I could hide behind one piece of advice that would serve as my legacy, um, hmm. I'm kind of floating behind two major concepts of value that I live by on a daily basis. But okay, I believe I would have to stand by the concept of. Man, that's a really good question. Um, I was watching a movie um, back in high school. It was Troy, and it was telling the story of Achilles, and um, a little kid, watched. He was a messenger, and they were getting ready to go into a huge fight. I mean, the guy was tremendous. I mean, people were scared of him. The little kid came and delivered a message to Achilles and said, um, you know, you're the king is calling you out for for duty. Now, Achilles being a Greek warrior, people looking up to him, being have God. Um, he the kid says, if I were you, I wouldn't want to fight him. I mean, he's scary. And Achilles says back to him, that's the reason why no one will remember you. So I want to be remembered as the guy who not just tried, but conquered the fears that the average person would be afraid to face.
So
So if
if
I
I
can
can
stand
stand.
behind any piece of advice, it would be to find that moment that defines greatness and identify the moment between opportunity and destiny.
That's deep. That's really deep, man. I like that. I like that a lot. Um, so I just have one more big question for you. And this interview's been great, man. I really think you provide a lot of value to our listeners, and again, I really do appreciate it. But if there was
Thanks.
one thing, or is there anything that I did not ask you about that you think is an important part of who you are? In other words, what did I miss?
Um, well, because my focus is on other people and highlighting them, I would have to say for those who want to be on this platform, you know, um, I know some people would look at me and say that I'm successful because of all the things that I'm doing. Yes, I own, three businesses, Wilson Resume Writers, Success Press and Media, and Champion University. And each of those help other people. Even my groups on Facebook are online forums of Champion University, which is the Netflix of education for entrepreneurs. It just teaches entry level skill sets for people who want to become profitable in their skill sets as entrepreneurs. But for those people who want to say, man, I really want to get on that platform where he is, or I really want to be interviewed by Ben, or how did you, for those people who want to know how did I start writing for Huffington Post? How did I start writing for Influensive? Um, and also being currently considered for Inc. magazine. How did I get on that platform where um, I'm considered? I think the one question would be is, and it's maybe not even for me. I think it's more so for you, is to tell people how they can be considered desirable for your podcast, desirable to be a thought leader or subject authority in order to be highlighted or showcased. What are the things that you look for
for
people
people to
to be
be.
considered that?
Um, I truly look for somebody who's an entrepreneur, author, or incredible person who has done something meaningful in their life and wants to share it. And they have the passion to want to share it. And nothing will stop them from sharing that passion. I think passion is a huge piece of the puzzle in whatever puzzle you're trying to put together. So I
Mm.
look for passion in a short-winded answer.
You know what? I love that. I love that so much to a point where people always ask me, how did you do this and how did you do that? And I would love to look back at the end of this year, Ben, and listen to 100 podcasts from you. And I mean, Project Egg is phenomenal. I mean, I've been watching, and people are often adding me to groups, and I don't know that I'm in the group until I start getting notifications. But I was like, okay, this is yeah, this is pretty cool. And you're not in there spamming, you're not scamming, you're not trying to push your agenda on people. I mean, you're generally trying to boost, aggregate, and develop other people, and I love that concept. So, for those who have not just yet done something that you feel that is noteworthy today at this very moment, I want you to find something that's on your list. If you don't have a list, make it. Find something that you want to be remembered for and start taking those steps toward that goal right now. And as you accomplish it, as you start reaching toward that large goal and you find that you've already crossed off 20 smaller goals that other people will actually consider major goals, Ben will hear of you. Major platforms like Entrepreneur Magazine, Inc. Magazine, Huffington Post, Influencer, they will hear of you and they will invite you on their podcast. They will invite you to do articles, challenge your standard, leave normal behind, as Rob Fajardo always promotes, and be great. That's
That's
what
what
I
I
got,
got,
man.
man.
That's all
Right,
I got.
right, and that's brilliant, man. I think a lot of people can really take a lot of good messages behind from this interview. So I think it's about time that we wrap this up. But before we end it, how can people get in contact with you?
I can be reached um, on every um, major social media platform. Travis Patterson, Coach TCP as well. This Coach TCP, Travis C. Patterson, the career professionals. Those are my initials. But if you really want to contact, get in connect, with me directly, aside from Instagram, aside from Twitter, aside from being on Facebook, because I'm often not on Facebook, you can email me directly, or you can go to my webpage, coachtcp.com, um, successpress.media. That has my direct line of communication up there. But yeah, Travis.Patterson at successpress.media. And you'll find my telephone number or email address.
That's fantastic. That is awesome, man. Well, for everybody listening, I just wanted to say that I really do appreciate you guys. I really appreciate all the support that you've shown for Project Egg so far, and I hope you've gotten a lot out of this interview today. Today we've been talking to Travis Patterson from Wilson, North Carolina. Travis, thanks so much for tuning in today.
Thanks, Ben. It's been a pleasure.
All right, bye bye.
Thank you.